Hi Taurus, welcome to your March 2019 Tarot and Astrology reading. Welcome back to my channel if you're a regular here, and if you are new, please subscribe. We've got monthly and mid-monthlies coming up, and you're going to want to be keeping an eye on your stars, Taurus, for the next 7 years at least. Uranus is moving into your sign this month. Now, it did briefly last year, I think from April until, I believe it may have been November. So you've had a little bit of a taster of that. So think back to how was the middle of 2018 for you? Were there any changes? Did you sort of shake up your life a little bit more? Did you have sudden realizations of what you want to look like, what you want to do? Sparks of genius, because Uranus is kind of a genius planet. It's a revolutionary, rebellious, but also technology all come under Uranus's bracket. So when it moves into your sign, and it's not been there since the 40s, when we experienced the Great Depression and World War II beginning. I say we, I was not born yet, but I know the history. And it's a very different climate now, obviously, because we have Saturn in an Earth sign, we have Pluto in an Earth sign, so it's not too bad, really. It's actually quite well enhanced, I think. A lot of people fear Uranus, and I get why. Because when you read the horoscopes, they say it'll be sudden, shocking changes every 5 minutes. And when you're a fixed sign, like we are, and because I'm a fixed sign as well, when you're a fixed sign and you hear sudden, shocking changes, you think, oh, no, not again. But Uranus is always in a sign. Okay, so while it's been in a cardinal sign, Aries, since 2011, meaning shock changes in those that lead, sudden unexpected events in our leaders, that made sense, right? In your sign, it's going to affect the world on a more financial level and in terms of security. But for you, March is a really, really wonderful month in many ways. The sun will be in Pisces until the 20th, which is a great time for agreeable energy, meeting people, socializing, spending time with your friends. We have a new moon in Pisces in the 6th, which means if you want to manifest new friends into your life, it's a good time to start that. But also, don't be so surprised if old ones reappear. People you've lost contact with. There may, with old friends, actually be some types of reconciliations, hearing from people you didn't expect to hear from, that you're connected to online, on social media, in email, on telephone calls in general. Group problems also will find solutions. So if you find it parts of the month, because depending on what degree you're on, this will affect you in different ways. But for the general sense, Taurus, if group dynamics are problematic, there will be chances with this Mercury retrograde to find the answer, find the solution. It may actually be for some of you that you go on a social media detox. Instead of hoping to, get all these messages through, because some of you might want to break from that. It's a good time to do so. And then Venus, we have entering Aquarius on the 1st of the month, giving you this extra charm in your career sector. So coming across well in interviews, coming across well with male figures in particular in the workplace, because that is what 10th house energy is. Again, depending on the degree. We may still have this affecting you in terms of travel and wanderlust. So the energy will shift at some point. It won't necessarily shift exactly for you on the 1st. Just bear that in mind. And Mars will be in your sign nearly all of this month, which gives you that drive, that push, that ambition. It leaves your sign on the 31st, but that's, March is your month to put the energy, the drive forward. Just don't be expectant. If your ambition and your determination, it might rub some people up the wrong way if you are focusing your work on group settings, okay? New energy, independence. Uranus also rules breakthroughs, so you might have some real energy shifts in your personal life. Your personal identity is going to be key over the next 7 years, really. So a lot of this month is to do with reflection, with Mercury going retrograde. But it's also giving you this drive, this desire to make changes that are long overdue. When you're a fixed sign, Uranus being in a fixed sign is actually a good thing, because it will shake you up to do something different if you've been getting stale. It's like if you're a hoarder, Uranus kind of comes in as a gust of wind and blows away all the excess magazines from the 1960s or whatever. This is going to charge you up, and things are about to get quite interesting. So it's very exciting. Now, do not fear change too much, because this is very internal, I think. It's you making shifts to your beliefs, to the way you approach life. You know, Uranus, I think, if a lot of Taurus can have this deep revolutionary spirit that rarely gets put to the fore, and sometimes you can go forward too much with the same old momentum, and you can be so afraid of change that you don't take opportunities for what they're worth. Some Taurus are that way inclined, so it's a good time to really get a bit more of it. I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because everyone says I should type vibe. You know, all about yourself in many ways, because it's your life. Yes, Knight of Wands, adventurous spirit, activity, could be fire sign influences, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. This can also be a change in residence, traveling abroad. As I say, Venus, depending on your degree, could actually still be affecting you in a wanderlust sense. Five of Pentacles, abandonment. Some of you guys are kind of afraid of the change, and some of you are afraid of finance issues, or you have concerns over that. I understand why. When you read about Uranus in your sign, people say the Great Depression, poverty, and now it's all Brexit, the economy, the elections, that type of thing. It's different in many ways. Just bear that in mind. It's going to be an interesting, I'd say the next couple of years in particular are going to be very interesting. You know, Uranus will come in and shake up the status quo in general, and it can actually be a really good thing, because not everything's working as it is it? The Tower, Uranus, destruction. So something that you thought was built to last is getting some kind of shake-up, Taurus. A shake-up to the status quo. You know, the Tower is very like Uranus, actually, in many ways. It's a Mars card, actually, but it's very like Uranus in that if you build something that is restrictive and unable to function, it will probably collapse, you know? It's like the Tower of Babylon. It was not meant to reach God. So if you have something in your life that is not serving you, there are energies coming in to shift it. Now, with Uranus being in the first degree, even exiting Aries in the 29th, the energy can feel a bit amplified at times. So with this sort of energy, you know that change is coming, you can feel that change is coming, and it's making you nervous, or it's making you angsty because you feel as though it's not in your control. Now, if you think of this on a seasonal change, we are moving into springtime. We'll go more into this in the mid-monthly readings, which goes over the full moon and the sun in your 12th house. Right, the psychological effects of this. But this month, you know, when you think about it, we're shifting from winter into spring if you're in the northern hemisphere, summer into autumn, I guess, if you're in the southern. So there is always this change anyway. It is cyclical. The Eight of Cups, change. Okay, so I get it, you guys are very afraid of change. Oftentimes, Taurus, what you're very much worried about or concerned about will manifest in readings regardless of what you think of it. The Ten of Wands is in the positive position. Challenge is the Five of Wands, represents competition. And the outcome is the Eight of Pentacles, which represents growth and achievement. And underneath we have the Four of Pentacles, which is security, which also has the Nine of Cups, which is a wish. And underneath that, the Fool, a new beginning. So, Wand energy and Pentacle energy seems to be at the forefront. So it is that shift from Uranus in a fire sign into an earth sign. What would you like to achieve? If you were told that Uranus was completely the same as Jupiter, the great benefic. Now, Uranus is a benefic planet. If you think about it, it will change things for your greater good. It will stop you being a slave to standards that don't fit you, society's idea that doesn't fit you. It will stop you getting stuck in a momentum which will prevent you from your full potential. Okay, so what would your full potential look like if you were thinking about it? What is your vision board? in your mind. And do you even have that? Or are you happy things just being comfortable? I remember a girl saying to me that she just wanted a comfortable life. You know, that's something that some people want more than others. Some people crave a bit of excitement. Some people want excitement if it's positive. You know, most people want excitement if it's positive, but some people do just want something comfortable. So what is comfort for you? You know, because that's achievable too. Even with Uranus in your sign, it just might look a little different. You just might open up to a possibility. You could be a homebody and Uranus could suddenly make you think, I want to move. I want to travel. I want to see something. You could be leaning one way politically and then you could realize this is restricting me from going to this place or meeting these people or dating these people. You know what I mean? Your identity is what gets questioned under this type of energy. So, 10 of Wands in the positive means you're willing to put in hard work regardless. You're willing to keep going even if you feel like you're about to topple over. That's positive because it means you're strong to this. You're a little bit nervous about change, but it means that you're strong. Whatever in your life that has recently crumbled, oftentimes with the Tower moment there, it means something has. There's been a shift, a disappointment, or something is starting to seem unattainable. Yet we have achievement as the outcome. So there is something quite particular that you're going to begin aiming for in March. Okay? And it could be exactly what gives you security. Now, we have Saturn and Pluto, the big heavies, in your 9th house of travel and expansion. You learn... no way. You learn through the world. You learn from seeing the world. You learn from taking a bird's eye view of everything below. You are the Earth, Taurus. With Uranus in your sign, you will be the forefront person for climate change, environmental issues, and saving the planet. Regeneration. You want to have a cause that will solve the greater good. When you've one of the big heavies in your sign, you're being called on in big ways. But we have some kind of finishing up to do. Uranus being in your 12th for the last 7 years. Those of you born at the beginning of the Taurus cycle may have felt this way back in 2011, 12 more so. Those of you at the end of the Taurus cycle maybe only being experiencing it now. Psychologically, there's a lot of impulses which became clear to you. You know, trigger reactions, things that evoked the red rag to the bull for you. Something about it was psychological. And the Tower moment can actually be realizing that you have a trigger point that you need to work on. 5 of Swords, conflict and destruction together. People may have been pulling the wool over your eyes in the barnyard. 5 of Swords. People might have been a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more underhand, depending on their personality. The problem with the 5 of Swords is that it's not always necessarily easy to tell which one of you it is. So it could be you trying to win at all costs. It could be them trying to win at all costs. Page of Pentacles. Ah, yes. There is an opportunity, but you're scared of it. Because it does bring a significant amount of change. Queen of Cups, it could be to do with the water sign, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. The devil is in the detail. And the 8 of Swords, restriction. This is so Uranus. Ace of Pentacles, prosperity. Okay, so let's talk about the 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Swords, because there's a lot of 8s here. We have 3. 888, which is also the angelic number of abundance. It's great for finance. Now, when we look at the 8 of Pentacles and the 8 of Swords, achievement and restriction, you're limiting your potential. Okay? The reason that you're limiting your potential is because you have an old habit of doing things, and just because it's not working anymore doesn't mean you're willing to give it up. I say it's not because the 5 of Wands and the Vortex means something or someone is sucking you up into the unknown, and you feel if you were to retreat from it, you would be a loser. Do not go to war with people who don't care. That's counterproductive. If someone doesn't have your best interests at heart, whether they're at work, whether they're in your relationships, don't compete with them. You should be competing with yourself and yourself only. But if you're trying to impress someone you don't like, you're doomed for failure and you're doomed to repeat past mistakes. Don't keep up with the Joneses when you hate the Joneses. Don't do things for the sake of your neighbours. Be a good neighbour, be a good person, but don't do things for the sake of what everyone else is doing. You've got bigger fish to fry. If you're dealing with a water sign person, a Scorpio, Pisces, or a Cancer, there is a lot going on in that person's life with Mercury retrograding in Pisces. They're not communicating completely well, but they are a good person. The Ten of Wands and the Queen of Cups means someone that you maybe previously found very hard going, very hard to listen to, becomes a better friend. Okay? So Mercury retrograde in your friendship sector may make you realize better quality friendships when you see them if they have been the ones that have been accessing this Five of Swords energy. Six of Swords, Ten of Swords, Four of Swords. You're moving forward from an ending and trying to recover. There's something that didn't quite go the way you wanted it to, and you're trying to move forward from it calmly and resist this psychological trigger that has happened quite a few times. Interesting, that one. The Fool. Diving right in and beginning a new journey amidst the chaos. Deciding that waiting on the sidelines isn't working for you anymore. Two of Cups. Interesting. Page of Cups. Seven of Cups. And the Knight of Pentacles. And let's draw one more because I don't leave this on a court. Nine of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is underneath. Okay, bigger picture. Breaking from tradition, breaking a habit is hard. Particularly if this is romantic. Nobody is going to change what you do, but you will resent them for changing things around you. The better thing to do, Taurus, is to ease up control, ease up the need to have everything done your way, because if you resist it, it will persist. If you actually decide you're going to go along with these changes, you will find greater emotional fulfillment in your relationships if you let them be. If you decide to go against these changes and really dig your heels into the ground, you won't move. You won't be a free range bull, right? Knight of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands, to me, and the Knight of Wands here as well. The two knights are sort of, the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles are so very, very different. You will know this difference between you and your fire sign friends. There's a very different energy to things like this. When you say to a fire sign, I'm going to change stuff up, they're like, yeah, go on then. And if you say to an earth sign, I'm going to change stuff up, they're like, well, have you thought it through? Do you have a plan? And those two sides of you are going at war. If you have fire sign in your chart in particular, Taurus, you're going to feel a little bit conflicted between the action that you take and the reaction you give. So what you could do, and what you're advised to do, is to just keep going. But be sensitive, be ready to embrace romantic exchanges, emotional exchanges. People want to talk to you about their feelings, which is kind of funny because you're a little bit, you're sympathetic, of course, but you're also unsure at this point what you're doing. So you don't know that you're in the place to advise. But if you want it, there's great emotional change in your friendships in particular, and in your romantic relationships with water signs. It's actually very much enhanced. Even with other earth signs, there's an enhancement. Particularly if someone went away and did come back, if it was a very short separation. The Eight of Cups and the Two of Cups to me can be, they're here by the way, can be people temporarily going off and coming back during the retrograde period. Because that happens, especially with friendships in the 11th. And you may also find, you may experience a sort of a deja vu with the people you work with in conversations, but don't get too impatient. It's good to go over this again before it moves forward. Romantically speaking, or even people you don't like, please don't try and impress them this month. Because the devil energy can mean that if you're competing with other people, you will look bad. If it's a one-upmanship type relationship, even if they're really getting to you, the devil can make people look desperate when they're not. So if somebody has wronged you or someone's playing games with you, withdrawal is your strongest weapon that you can use. Focus on what you want to achieve, what your goals are, because we're coming up to your season. Even with Uranus going into your sign, your season is still approaching, and it would be wise, Taurus, to really reflect on what you want. Yes, there's an emphasis on group activities. Yes, there's an emphasis on your relationships with people at a wider circle. But what you want is going to slowly begin to come into focus, and you might get a little bit impatient for your season, actually. But it's still important to go with the flow in this, Nine of Wands, you're going to continue fighting for a job opportunity, for your career. You're going to, continue fighting for everything. But just be ready to adapt if things change up this month, okay? We have a golden opportunity and we have unconditional love. So as I say with Mary Magdalene here, unconditional love, people may not be appearing as they usually do. Notice the mermaid aspect to this and the dolphin. Piscean people need your love more than anybody else, actually, with Mercury retrograding. But this Mercury retrograde period is quite beautiful because it allows better communication, which is the irony. But it's well aspected at points, so there can actually be big breakthroughs with those. And Uranus may actually give you a breakthrough in how you present yourself. So you're gonna have a different energy, and people are gonna notice. Some people find that threatening. Some people find it endearing. It will depend. But just make sure you're not competing with people. You have your own golden opportunity here, and you won't notice it open if you're so busy looking to see if someone else's door has opened. Do you know what I mean? Keep your eye on the prize. Now, I'm going to do a love card for you, Taurus, for March, for those of you looking in romance. The extended romantic readings will be on Vimeo. There will be a link in the bio below. Oh. Take one from the top. Yin and Yang. Balance, balance, balance. Finding a balance between your energies, from the male energy, the feminine energy, masculine, feminine energies, blending things out, being practical but being emotional, blending your adventurous side with your practical side, the need for impulse and the need for planning, balancing them out. When you're depleted in one, overdoing the other. If you have too much in one, cut out of that and give it a bit more somewhere else. You might feel your energy increase and decrease and increase and decrease and increase and decrease and be a little bit temperamental for the first bit of this. But with the sun going into Aries on the 20th, and then there being a little bit of psychological depth to address, I would recommend for the first 20 days of March at least, make the most of your friends and your connections, network, because then there will be time to rest from that. And you need to make sure that you're not ignoring the impulse to connect with people in March, and then when it comes to your nesting season, you're not walking out and looking for people to talk to. Do you know what I mean? It would be better to embrace the social energy before you get to catch your breath, okay? So a lot of stuff's happening. Go with it, move with it, enjoy it. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next reading. Bye, Taurus.